All right, so I'm here live on a Zoom chat, and if you're joining me, you can talk with us as we're going through, communicate. You can type things in, give us your reactions at the top and the bottom of your screen. You'll see those buttons to allow you to do that. I'm in the chat now as I look at the screen. If you're following on any of the other platforms, whether it be Facebook, YouTube, Instagram, you have also the access to send us questions or to participate, because I have a host. Her name is Mandeep. She is following on those platforms. So if you want to send across your reactions, comments, or you want to share a story with us about the subject that we're talking about today, which is competence and motivation and how these two things are related, please do, and Mandeep will get them across to me here in the Zoom chat. So without any further waste of time, last time we met, we were speaking on the subject of study and learning.
Yeah.
And this week, we're going to we're dealing with motivation, but we're going more along, or continuing along the subject of study, because being competent has to do with learning.
Yeah.
So to kick it off, and I know we were discussing things in the beginning, before we went on this webinar, but do you have any stories of anything that your motivation was at a certain level, and then after becoming competent in activity, your motivation rose or improved?
Oh yeah. Like I mentioned before, with photography, I was really passionate about photography from a very young age. Like my mom got me like this camera. And I was like taking pictures of everything, and then I lost it, and then I took
like
her
a
camera.
Toy camera or an actual camera?
Like an actual, like a little tiny little digital camera.
Okay.
You just click and like there's no like, you don't change any settings very much on that. And then I lost it, and then I took her camera, and I started taking pictures on her camera, and like she never got her camera back, and then she bought her another camera, and then I found the camera that I had lost outside of my house. It got lost in the snow.
No.
But like I loved taking pictures.
Right.
I was really bad at it though. Like,
Okay.
some pictures would come out really good. Some pictures would just be very blurry, too bright, too dark. I'm like, why is it like this?
Interesting. So, as a child, quite often you can be really into something, but not very good at it.
Yeah.
So, anyway, what age was that?
Like I started when I was about 11. I was 11.
All right.
And then from
You're
there,
at an age where you could do things and be independent and not need mom or dad's sort of input on how to do something. So you took this camera and you're off and you were just snapping everything.
yeah, just snapping everything.
Right.
And then, after a while, like I kind of sort of stopped. I still loved it, but it was just like, I don't know what to do. Then I went to college.
Right.
And from there, I was on this like website, and I saw like a deal for a camera, and it was still a digital camera, but it was like it looked like a more professional camera than the one that I would walk around with, and I got it, and I was like, okay, cool. Then the next semester came around, and I could sign up for this photography class. So I signed up for the photography class, and the teacher, was teaching us about, the cameras. Her camera was a very nice camera. And I was like, I want a camera like that. And, I still learned the stuff that I needed to learn as far as like how the camera operates.
Right. So yours is a fully manual one as well? Like hers was obviously a pro level one, but was yours a fully manual one?
To a certain extent. It wouldn't be fully. There would be some things that I just could not control. Like shutter speed, I couldn't control how fast the shutter closed to take the picture. But there are certain things that I could manipulate in order to get a better picture.
Right.
So during the photography class, like I learned so much about the camera itself and some of its functions that I was just like, whoa, like running around campus, like shooting pictures of everything. And then eventually I purchased a better camera. Like I purchased like a professional camera. And I was like, yeah, like let's go.
So your competence or learning how to use the camera you had motivated you, like, I'm going to do this, let's get an upgrade, next model. And so you were like, the level of your activity and your competence in doing it fueled more interest in that way.
Yeah.
Okay.
And like I remember, like it was yesterday, man. Like I ordered it was a Nikon D3200, and I got it. It came, during a snowstorm that we had, which was perfect because it's like a great time to take really good pictures. Because
middle of a snowstorm.
Yeah, like
from the window, or do you mean outside?
No, outside. Like,
really?
I was outside in the snow. Like,
what state was this?
This is Alabama, which is funny because we don't normally get snow.
Right.
So like when we got this snowstorm, I call it a storm.
Yeah.
But it wasn't that bad.
It was just snow.
For us being in Alabama, like we don't get snow, so the snow that we did get, it was heavy.
Yeah.
But we were like, ah!
It's like in Ireland when they get a little bit of snow here, everyone freaks out. It's like, oh my God, it's snowing!
Yeah.
And all the Polish people and all the Eastern Europeans were going, what snow?
So like I started taking like crazy pictures. Like we had snow fights, and I'm catching like the snowball like mid-air, like there.
You're
like,
into it.
Nothing's super dark, nothing's too bright.
Yeah.
It's just perfect because of the knowledge that I got.
So you were taking
from doing it.
great shots.
Yeah, and I just loved it. Like I got to the point where I started, people started, I started getting money for taking pictures.
So you're definitely happy and motivated to keep going.
Yeah, like people's like, hey, like, can you take my graduation pictures? Hey, can you take my senior portraits? Like, hey, can you do my wedding? How would you charge for a wedding? I was like, I don't know, how much should I charge for a wedding? Like, I've never done that before. But man, it was amazing.
That's awesome. That's a really good story, and I think that quite often I've seen presented, and this has to do with motivational sort of stuff online. It's like, are you sick of your day job? Would you like your hobby to become your job or something like that? That's like an actual story of how someone's competence and your motivation or your enthusiasm to do it then just progress naturally into someone saying, hey, I'll give you $50 for doing something. And then all of a sudden you're making money from something that you're motivated by, happy to do, willing to do, and interested in. That's that's a cool story. And any other stories of anything where your motivation was improved or gained momentum from becoming competent at something?
I would say I really liked announcing. Mm-hmm. And I didn't know that I liked it until I was in like junior high school. Mm-hmm. Like I was asked if I could, like a guy at church was like, hey, like you have a really nice voice. I think you'd be really good on the microphone. And I was like, okay, cool. He was like, would you like to announce? Upward is like a basketball program for young kids. Mm-hmm. So I was announcing their games. And it would be like super awesome because like the kids would be really pumped. And I'm like on the microphone like, and now coming into the thing. And just like the kids like, wow, like this is wow.
Like an NBA announcer or something like that. And when did your voice break though? Because you do have this booming voice, right? Because I could easily say, like, Devontae, can you make the announcement because you don't need a microphone? So when did it come about? I'm actually interested.
Man, I would say when I was 12.
Really?
Around 12, 13.
And what was...
It's kind of tough for me, you know, because I would call girls on the phone and sometimes the dad would answer. And there was actually one time where, like, a girl that I was talking to, her dad picked up the phone and was like, hey, can I speak to Katie? And I was like, he was like, who is this? And I'm like, oh, my name's Devontae. And he's like,
how old
click!
He
just hung up the phone. Click! And then the next day I come to school and she's like, hey, I'm sorry, my dad, like, kind of like went off on me yesterday. Like, he thought you were, like, really older. And I was like, oh, yeah.
I would have loved to have heard, 9-year-old, 10-year-old Devontae. Did you still have a loud voice? I mean, I'm not going to say it it's not an obnoxious way, but it's definitely the volume that you have and how you can project. Were you like that also as a kid at 9 and 8?
Oh my goodness, I used to really drive my mom crazy because, like, I was very loud, but, like, sometimes I would randomly do, like, this scream. Yeah. And it was like a blood-curdling scream that sounded like some girl was getting kidnapped.
I can imagine.
And it was so high-pitched. It was just like, stop screaming like that! For no reason.
It rose the roof. Right, so anyway, so there's this natural ability there, or, God-gifted ability, if you like. Yeah. And then you got into announcing, you were good at it, and how did it fuel from there?
From there, like, I started doing things in school. Mm-hmm. I started doing announcements for, like, different programs in my school. And then, from that point, I went to college. And I was a theater major. Mm-hmm. And I would be inside the Mac lab sometimes just recording poems.
Mm-hmm.
And I kind of
Mac Lab,
like the MacBook computers.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
That's what they call it. Just
We
as
call
name.
it a Mac Lab. Yeah,
Right.
that's where we just did our projects, Photoshop and video editing and stuff.
Okay.
So I'm in there doing voice recordings and whatnot, like making everybody be quiet while I'm recording. And they're like, hey, like, shh, this recording. Yeah. And I would keep it to myself though. I wouldn't like share it with anybody. I don't know why, but I was like so secretive with my recordings, even though people knew. And my brother one day took my laptop, like he grabbed it and ran. He ran to like one of the theater professors and said, "You gotta listen to this." And he played it, and the dean is sitting right next to the professor, and you hear my voice like, but his eyes just go,
What was the
"Oh my
recording?
goodness!" It was a poem that I wrote.
Oh wow, cool.
And he's like, "Who is this?" And then he's like, "It's Devontae." And I'm like running behind him, and I see both their eyes just big, and they look at me. This is you? And I'm like, "Yeah, that's me. I recorded that." And he was like, "Why didn't we know that you could do this?
Wow.
Like, we could use you on campus." And I'm like, yeah.
It's funny, isn't it? You know, up until that point, you're like, "Give me the computer," and you're like freaking out about who's going to find out, and all of a sudden, you get such a good reaction from it, and you're like, "Yeah, I did that." Well done. Well, that's really cool. And so then, from that point, how did it carry forward? What did that motivate? Was that demonstration of competence, or even the acknowledgement of competence, which I guess is probably key also there? That acknowledgement, how did that fuel things from there?
So from there, I started doing. I actually announced for the marching band that the college had. Like we had this marching band, and then like my mama Dempsey, she asked me to host something called Red Devil Mania from my old high school, and she gave me something for it, and I was like, oh my gosh, like whoa, and it was like nice, and I was like, and then two guys that did professional wrestling at one of the sites in my hometown. They were like, yo, like how much would you charge, because we would like for you to do one of the ringside announcement things. Like you were able to, the way you were able to interact with like this whole crowd of children, not children, young adults. They're like 16, 15, but like big auditorium full.
You're a college student,
wow.
and that sort of thing. Yeah, cool.
So it was like, I was like, wow, like just so much stuff. Just started opening it up, and then I really started looking for, okay, cool. So like, where else can I take this? And my mama Dempsey started sending me like all types of like different things, like put your voice in here, put your voice in here, put it in, send it out, like just outflow, just like push it out there. And one of my friends is actually working on an animation right now, and she asked me to like actually be the voice for her like her trailer for the animation. So I'm like, wow, like this is like really nice. But like at first, like doing like the voiceovers, like if somebody else was doing like the audio, I was fine.
Okay.
But when I started recording my own poems, it was like really tough for me because I had to learn how to use different functions on GarageBand.
Okay.
When I was in the Mac Lab. So I would have to watch like videos on YouTube, on tutorials, talk to different people that I know use this. And some people didn't know it. Sometimes I just had to, just shoot it. And what I see is like, okay, cool. This is what I observe. This happens when this happens. Great. This is good. And when I switched to Audacity, because I don't have a MacBook, I have a Windows. So when I started using Audacity, it was like, ooh, everything just looks so technical.
Right.
So I actually literally spent hours upon hours just watching Audacity tutorials, guys talking to me about this is what this is what you do with this is what you do with this. And then my audio interface that I would hook up to my computer is like, how do I put this up? Like, what is this? Like, how do I do this? I've never done this. I just speak.
Yeah.
Now I have to learn how to use this so I can, push my stuff out. But now I can just slap this stuff together like it's no problem. Boom, jump on the microphone, record what I need to record. If there's ever a problem, I was like, okay, cool, I know exactly what this is. I switch, change, boom, boom, continue, re-record.
Fantastic.
Save it, send it off.
Very good. And that story, just to kind of like summarize it and what I take out of it as a very good example of, right? You got two things. You got, as you demonstrated competence, or as you felt confident yourself, or you were proud of what you did, you wanted to do more of it.
Yeah.
As you got acknowledged from it, you wanted to do more of it. And would you say that that contributed to your motivation, or that contributed to your happiness each time you made targets, each time you like achieved something, that fueled for it further and further?
Yeah, like I would get extremely happy, especially anytime I record a poem now, like, because now I just record my own poems just for the heck of it. Like, I just like to record my poems, and I'll put music or some type of sound behind it.
Nice.
And like I'll just be like, I'll text my friends like, "Hey, you want to listen to my new poem?" It was like,
which is different from your brother stealing the book from you.
They don't have to take my book anymore. I just like I send it to them. And
that's
like,
cool.
Man, this is nice.
Yeah.
Like, thank you.
Fantastic. And then also in that story, I have seen this with professionals in different fields. You know, they may be incredible in their field at doing something, but they may not have put themselves out there. They may not be doing some sort of putting together teaching materials. When I have observed them, I'm like, man, you should teach this stuff. It's like incredible. And they're like, yeah, no, I'm not really much into that sort of thing. You know, they're content with their thing, you know, happy to go along. But some people, when they reach some sort of, let's say, competence level, or like you were, like you had the voice announcing and you were using the MacBook, all of a sudden there was for you to be good or achieve things you wanted at it, all of a sudden there was another barrier of, you know, Windows interface and program put in front of you. That if you really wanted to continue in the environment that you were, you then had to become competent at something else.
Yeah.
So in order to overcome that competence, the motivation that you had to succeed in voice announcing pushed you through those barriers. Because if you were going back to the start, let's say you're in the school lab and you know you're learning from the MacBook, and all of a sudden the school scraps the Mac program and they're like, oh, we're changing to Windows or something like that. And then you, in order to keep announcing, at that age in your life, you had to learn the whole interface a bit differently. It would be, I'm sure, a different type of experience. Maybe maybe you wouldn't have been able to push through that barrier. But having such a background of competence, and you knew you could do it, you knew you'd been validated in the achievements you made. Okay, here's another barrier. Doesn't matter. I'm going to learn it. Doesn't matter what I have to learn. Doesn't matter how many videos I've got to take on. Doesn't matter how much time it's going to take me. I know once I get past this, I'm going to be fueling that competence that I already have. So
Yeah.
I think that's a very important take-home story, that becoming really good at something, especially when it's acknowledged or you know yourself and that competence is there, is it helps you get over other barriers, kind of like in that way.
Yeah.
So that's cool.
And then to tag on like what you said, like there's guys, the guys that they have this teaching material, but they don't like send it out. Like I was really big, like not really big on fitness, but I was very fit, and I liked being like in fitness because I wrestled, I played football, I did a lot of activities.
Sure.
So I just kept it going. And it got to the point where, you know, sometimes, you know, people ask me like, hey, like, what is it that you do? Like, can we work out together? And I'm just like, no, because I don't know I don't know. Yeah, I just knew everybody's body worked different. I don't want to be, you know, the guy that told you to do something and you break something and, you know, now it's my fault. So
but obviously you looked like you were a good enough example of demonstrated competence, and people are like, he looks like he knows what he's doing. Let me go and ask him.
Yeah. And then from that point, like I actually wanted to know, how can I improve what I do for myself? So I started reading books on fitness. And like from there I was like, wow, like I got this. Like I know now. So if anybody asks me, oh, can we work out together? Yeah, we can work out together. Like, hey, like what can I do for this? What can I do for this area of my body? Or I'm really sore. What stretches can I do to like help me? And I can like show them like right on the spot. Boom. And they're like, wow, I didn't expect that so fast. Because we could be like standing like in the middle of the mall or something. And they're like, oh, I'm so sore because I worked out yesterday. It's like, oh, what is it? They're like, oh, this. Boom, I'll just start doing the stretch right in front of them. It was like, come on, we're stretching out.
Right.
So
you had a high willingness to help, and your initial hesitation on helping someone got handled as you gained the certainty in your own abilities, your own competence, and then being such a good example, setting a good example, people then naturally came to you and said, hey, dude, you're a great example. You obviously know what you're doing. Please help me, sort of thing.
Yeah. That
Excellent.
Cool.
Now I want to come back to that subject on help in just a minute, but you did give great examples of things that you were motivated already or already interested in doing. But did you ever find a subject or come across something that you had no motivation for, that perhaps as part of work or some other responsibility, you developed a competence in, and that changed your motivation toward that subject.
Yes.
What was it?
It's administrative work. So like
Got it.
filing papers, keeping track of dates and things like that. Like I've always detested it. Like I'm the guy that if I know my job, I just like to get in. I like to do the action. Like all the paperwork and stuff. Like let someone else do that.
The recording of it.
Yeah, like filing it, putting things there, stapling things together, paper clipping, sending it off to whoever it needs to go to. I don't want to do any of that. Like I don't want to touch it.
Right.
Just leave me alone. Whenever you got time for stuff like that, I would go do something else,
Right.
so that somebody else would take care of that.
Yeah.
Like all my jobs.
Yeah.
I just was not that person.
I'm having an imagination now of what it could have been like, because I have very similar experience. So, okay, anyway, what happened after that? How would the competence come into that?
So actually, like, I got here because even like one of the best jobs that I had was at this place called Chuck E. Cheese's, and it's like a entertainment restaurant type thing. I freaking loved it. I had to do tiny bit of administrative work at one point. I really didn't like it, but I did it because there was a job. Sometimes I don't think I did it correctly.
So it was your responsibility. It was a duty, and that duty itself, it motivated you to make sure you did it because you wanted to have the other things. Okay.
And sometimes I would ask my general managers, "Hey, can you do this, please?"
Seriously.
And I'll go do this. Like I would say, "Hey, could you do this?" And then I'll go on the floor and I'll handle everything on the floor. Could you just help? Like, could you do this? She'd be like, "Yeah, fine." Because sometimes
to get out of the admin.
it'd be chaotic on the floor, man. So I go on the floor and I'm like handling all types of stuff, like having fun. And she's like doing the paperwork, like da 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 da. It's like, great. Like I don't have to do it.
Yeah.
But until I got when I got here, like I ran up against this barrier because like I started working, and then there was loads of administrative things that needed to happen, and I'm like, I couldn't push it off on my colleagues because they have their own stuff that they have to do. So it's like, oh man, like I'm sitting with this big pile of work that I'm just like, oh, like what do I do with this?
Right.
And like eventually I just started reading and studying on administration and why is it important to keep admin in and the things that'll happen if you don't. And I actually felt the effects full on of what happens when you don't keep that in. So, I decided to, you know what? Even though I don't like it, like I still don't like it.
Okay.
But I know that it needs to get done.
Okay.
So I do it. And it just really just like, great. So let's handle this stuff before it becomes this monster in your closet that's probably going to eat you when you're sleeping. So, I don't want that. Let's just get rid of the unnecessary drama, handle things as it is now. But I didn't pick up the competence to actually handle those things until 2 years ago.
Wow.
Yeah.
So before you were running away from it, doing anything you could, I'll swap, I'll do this, and now it's kind of like, okay, I'm going to do it, but you know how to do it now. You know the components of how to handle all your admin, and so you're like, here it is, okay, good, let me do it. So there's a different kind of feeling towards that.
Yeah.
Good. Okay, we're just going to check in over here, and Mandeep, if there's any comments or questions that have come up on all the other platforms, hello to everyone out there that's joined us on the different platforms, Instagram, Facebook, YouTube. If you have any comments, originations, or questions, we'd love to hear from you. So, again, what contained in that were some quite interesting points with regard to motivation and even confront, which we're also going to look at in one of the next webinars that has to do with communication. Is that being willing to communicate with or deal with a certain subject has this aspect of confront to it. You didn't want to confront the admin. You didn't want to communicate with the admin. So you were like, you're doing anything to swap, and do things. And I think that does make life colorful in some ways because, if everyone just liked to do everything, it wouldn't necessarily bring about maybe the exchange or the marketplace in certain, ways because, well, I like that and then you like that, so why don't you do mine of that and I'll do yours of that, and it creates sort of an exchange of services.
Yeah.
I definitely liked exchanging with my accountant. That he did my accounts and I would give him money.
Yeah.
I had money, I would give it to him gladly.
Yeah.
You go and handle that. So it does that's the give and take of life in that way. But I think that the motivations towards being responsible for yourself or being able to do something, that even if you don't like to do it, as soon as you get had with the correct information, as soon as you get the correct knowledge on how to do something, all of a sudden that inability to confront something or the dislike of handling something kind of like just it disappears. After I did with accounting, I learned more about accounting. I started to then dislike giving my accountant as much money as I was giving him. Because all of a sudden it's like, well, I actually feel like I can do that whole, sorting things into what is an outgo, what is an expense, what is income, and what are the different categories. And then I started to feel, no, you don't need to get as much money from me now. It's like he was still asking for the same money, but, but because I was able to do it now, it was quite strange how that came about. But we were talking about that other thing, and I wanted to come back to that. Oh, here we go. Mandeep has put a couple of links in there for any of you that want to grab books or have a free consultation with any of our staff to discuss more any of the issues you're having with motivation. You can click on those links there, but we'll keep going. So we're talking about this point of help, right? Mm-hmm. So people came to you for fitness advice.
Yeah.
And they wanted your help.
Yeah.
Now, initially,
I was no, it's fine. Like I can't really help you. Like no, I know what I do, and I can't really tell you what I do because it might not work for you. I just know it works for me.
Right, but then after that, when you
started studying,
what happened then?
I felt more willing to actually communicate what I could actually do, and it got to the point to where I was helping people like really work out. Like really get their bodies in ways that they really wanted their bodies to go. And then some people were asking me like, how much would you charge for this? And I would just tell them, I can't rightly charge you because I'm not certified as a personal trainer. Now I could do it as like, me helping you. Like I could definitely do that. Now if you want to give me something just off your own, whatever, you can do that. That's fine. Like I'm not going to reject it, but I'm not going to ask for anything. And I'm not going to tell you what I would charge because it's just not right. So, from there, saying that, I was like, well, I should be charging in the future. And I started researching for, different places where I can get certified as a personal trainer. And come next year, I'm going to be taking a course on, different things so that I could get my certification in physical training.
Awesome. So that desire to help people then, or that when people came to you for help and you wanted to help them better, how much did that motivate you to study further so you could be better at helping people?
A lot more, because there's a lot of things that can happen with somebody's body that when they're exercising. And then there's a lot of things that you should know about someone and their condition before you start trying to give them certain workouts or exercises to do. Because like one of the things that I found out was that you should really like do a questionnaire with the person that you're about to start doing this.
Gather the information to set the stage. What are you dealing with from the base?
That's because at first I didn't do that, and then one person told me like, hey, like I used to have like this problem with my leg, and I'm like, what?
You never told me that.
Like, I didn't know this. If I had known this, I would have went so hard on you like 3 days ago on leg day.
That's right.
Because like I was like a monster. Like, no, you keep going. Like, you're not stopping. It's like, oh, but it hurts. What hurts? It's like, it just hurts to stand up. I was like, that's not real pain. Push through it.
It might have been the reason why he came back to you, because like, damn, that guy works you hard.
Yeah.
Even if you got a problem, he doesn't care. He doesn't quit. He keeps going.
Exactly.
Maybe that was part of it. But I was going to say that concept of wanting to help people, then motivating you or driving to understand more.
Yeah.
What would you say about that?
That like once you encompass an area, you won't be fulfilled. Like you want to know more because your reach is starting to expand. So it's now you start reaching areas or you start hitting things where it's like, oh, you get new data. And when you get new data, it's like, okay, great. So there's something that I don't know. I need to know about this. So you want to take it in so that you can get more data, because that's going to push out what you can actually do even more. And it'll motivate you to stay on top of what it is that you're actually pursuing.
Right. That reminds me, of course, we've spoken on the webinar a number of times about that discovery L. Ron Hubbard made between knowledge, responsibility, and control.
Yeah.
So as you've gained more knowledge, as you've demonstrated more competence in the ability to even control your body, we could say, develop physique and that sort of thing, all of a sudden, naturally, your area of responsibility starts to get pushed out because other people now want to come within your control. And that is that relationship to the knowledge, responsibility, control triangle, if you like. What would you say that, because I have definitely expressed to parents, right? If you would like to motivate your children to help you, then you should get them to help you with little things and acknowledge the hell out of them.
Yeah.
Like, be really thankful for them doing something for you.
Even if it's crap.
Right.
Even if it's just like really not good. Like it's like you're cooking. Child wants to come in and like help cook.
Yeah.
It's like, all right, you know, these are the spices. This is what we're going to be using, and they're just like going crazy with the spices. It's like, but you got to keep cooking because if you do anything that's like lets them know that was like the wrong thing to do, you're gonna break them.
Yeah,
they're not gonna want to help you.
Yeah, and children want to make you proud. I remember a number of times, you know, like for other members in my family, we'd be climbing a tree, and you know, when you climb to the top of the tree, you're like, hey, look at me, Ryan, you know, like you want to get an acknowledgement for having achieved that, because it motivates you, it satisfies you, because you want to help your parents.
Yeah.
So even something as simple, you know, maybe with another parent dealing in a professional capacity, and the kids running around the room, right, just like losing their mind on whatever, crawling up the walls. And you say, hey, do you want to come over and help Mum? Sure. You know, like all of a sudden, can you take Mum's bag and put it over there? Oh, okay, good. And then they do that, like, thank you very much. And the kids, what else can I do?
Yeah.
You know, kids have, I think, that sense of exchange because they develop obligations. They know that their parents are caring for them. Maybe they don't know it sort of in a clear sort of, you know, conscious way, but they acknowledge that. And so children doing things for you and then acknowledging them fuels their motivation to help further.
Yeah, that's funny because I think that we went over that a bit. We touched on that a tiny bit last in a webinar when we talked about obligations.
You're right. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, it's like really funny because like in the Way to Happiness, like everyone ever like talks about how a child wants to help, and you know, parents should accept the little tokens that they give them for help, and like just, you know, be really excited for it, because everything that they do is because they want to fulfill this obligation that they have, and it's there. They just, I just don't know what to do, so let me do a dance. Like, I'm gonna dance for my dad, I'm gonna dance for my mom, and I'm gonna make them laugh. And like, yay! I just made them laugh,
and they were happy with that. And so, even though it might not have been, and this is an important point, even though it might not have been a competent act of doing the thing, it was them competently desiring and wanting to help. And so, when you acknowledge competence, or you acknowledge or grant appreciation to that thing that was done, you will get more of that thing.
Yeah.
So if someone does something, they do it well, or they just do it and you like it, even though they may have been not so good at it. Devontae, that was an amazing dance. Thank you. You can dance for us tomorrow night. You walk away saying, yeah, I can dance. Right. So that, I think, is a very important point for helping motivate kids, you know, especially through that mechanism of help and desiring to help. But in adults, it becomes a little bit of a different animal, doesn't it?
Yes. It's funny because I was literally just thinking about, you know, husband and wife relationships. You know, sometimes the wife may not be such a good cook. And I you know, myself see that nowadays, like women don't really want to know how to cook. But I know me growing up, that was like a big thing. You know, we were taught, you know, the man goes, takes care of, you know, business, makes money, and blah, blah. He brings it home. The wife is going to have, you know, the food and all that, gets the house taken care of. And, you know, things aren't like that nowadays. And women are like, you know, we can go get some stuff from the store. I love cooking.
So do I. Absolutely.
But, like, if your wife does cook a food meal for you and you start eating it and it just, you know, doesn't have that taste that you're really looking for.
You're like, honey, can you get me some more salt? What's wrong with it?
Yeah. But, like, you should really, like, just acknowledge the fact that they made the attempt to make food for you. And
That's right.
they themselves will start to I want to see if I can do something different now. Like, what if I can add something? Let me watch some videos on YouTube and see how they cook their food. Like, yes. Do that. Like,
I'm guilty of that. You know, like eating something. What do we have around here? Do we have some spicy sauce or something? It's like, what's wrong with it? nothing. Just was just interested for different. You don't like my cooking?
yeah. You get a big mountain there.
So not acknowledging someone for their help, has definitely its pitfalls. But then there's also the other element of people being uncertain about the desire to help.
Yeah.
Like, is that motive actually altruistic and doing it for just general purposes, or do you want something in exchange?
Yeah.
It's like, why do you want to help me? And I know before I have actually gone to help people, and they've said, no, I don't want your help with that, or it's okay. No, you don't have to. No, that's fine. And for some, and I've seen this in some social circles, is that some people don't want to accept help from others, because then it does create an obligation for that person to then exchange with them in some way.
Yeah.
And if someone doesn't want to, doesn't feel like they can exchange, doesn't feel like that they can do anything, like if I feel like I'm unable in life, and you do something for me, I'm going to feel so bad because I can't do anything back for you. It's like I can't do anything good. So that's one mechanism with the refusal to help that I have definitely seen. But then also there is like what does he want to help me for?
Yeah.
What are you looking to, what's the angle? What's the slant? What's the pitch? You trying to get something from me?
You get that a lot when growing up as a young man. If you're, I know for me and a lot of my friends, my peers that I grew up with, we were taught to be chivalrous. So, like holding doors open for women,
right.
Complimenting women if you see them. Like, there's nothing with that. Like, we're not flirting. Like,
sure.
Flirting would be a completely different thing. Like, we let you know. If we're interested, we just tell you. But, holding doors open, sometimes you get to the point to where girls, you open the door for them and they're like, I don't need you to open the door for me. It's like, oh, like, okay, my bad. Like, I was just trying to be nice. Like, it's just what I do. But okay, cool. I don't have to open the door for you. Paying for the meal or stuff like that. It's like, I got my own money. You don't have to do. It's like, no, it's fine. I got it. It's like, no, and you get into an argument about
wanting to give a compliment or help in some way. All of a sudden, it turns into some sort of an upsetting situation. It's like, okay, fine.
Like, I'm not asking for you to like give me your heart, you know, in exchange. Like, I don't want that. Like, I just wanted to do something nice.
Yeah.
This is what I was taught when I was growing up.
I was in line. This was in the States, actually. I was in line at Starbucks, and the dude in front of me, cap on, just a regular looking dude, right? And I was there, and I made my order, and I came to the next thing, and he was waiting for his coffee. And she said, no, it's already taken care of. And I'm like, like in America, I'm like, what happened? She's already taken care of. And she said, gentleman over there. And I looked at the guy, and he goes, just paying it forward, man. Like, obviously someone did him a favor, but that situation was like, it touched me. Yeah. I was like, wow, that stuff still happens really in society. And I know the number of times that I've done something to help someone or give something to someone, you feel good from it. And when it is accepted and the person, likes it, it's a much more mutually happy situation than if you try and do something for someone and they're like, no. Because I could imagine it could go the other way around. It's like, dude, you're not paying for my coffee. I'm paying for my coffee myself, sort of thing. Like, all of a sudden, this guy had his great intention, this desire to help and want to make, your life brighter in a little way or whatever it might have been for that small period of time. When you acknowledge it and you take it, it's a win-win for everyone. Yeah. And then you pass it on, however it might be.
Like a pebble in the water.
Yeah, exactly.
It's a beautiful song.
Okay, I'm just going to check in over here. So we're about to wrap up. If any of you have any questions or you're interested in anything, we've got these books over here. So these books are actually in let's say the series, or there are a number of books on the subject of learning and study. If you're interested, there is a link that relates to those. It's all about learning how to learn, and if you want to become competent in something, there are certain tools or steps and paths that you can take to become good at something, and definitely learning is a part of that. And then there's another book here, The Way to Happiness. That book has 21 precepts for its common sense guide to better living. It's not religious in any way, but it is actually something, if you follow these precepts, it does cover different things about being competent, about fulfilling your obligations, about setting a good example.
Being worthy of trust.
all of these different components that will help you live a happier, fuller life, become competent at things, improve your motivation, etc., etc. So, as we are about to end off, anything else that you'd like to add? I know we talked about help and we looked at, children, and we looked at some of those examples. Anything else that you wanted to add on the subject of motivation or otherwise?
No, just, keep your eye on your target. And if there's something that you want to do, learn about it. Learn about it and make sure you understand. Understand what it is that you're learning, because it'll push you through.
Very good. Very good. So there is a way. Thank you very much for having us join you today. It was great for have you to watch. Hopefully you'll share this around. It was good content. Check out our other webinars, Study and Learning Motivation, coming into communication as a next section. If you enjoyed it, you'd like to leave a comment, I'd really love to hear from you. So, Shanae for today. See you next time.